Hello, everybody. This is Professor Kai, and today I want to talk to you about collective intelligence. Collective intelligence refers to a group or a team's ability to work together effectively to tackle complex problems. Collective intelligence, or CI, is an important concept to understand because many challenges in life and in work requires us to work together with other people, from small things like cooking with friends to more bigger, complex things like building a spaceship with hundreds, if not thousands, of people. All of these things requires us to collaborate. In the professional context, the ability to work well with others is a highly valued skill, and it's a key ingredient for career success and advancement. There's actually a lot of science behind collective intelligence. Scientists have found that much like cognitive intelligence, which also known as IQ, and emotional intelligence, which is known as EI or EQ, collective intelligence or CI can be measured quantitatively and scientifically. According to research, collective intelligence of a group is primarily dependent on two things: social sensitivity and conversational turn-taking. Social sensitivity is the ability to recognize how another person thinks or feels. Conversational turn-taking is actually a quite simple idea. It just means that everyone in the group or in the team speaks roughly the same amount of time. What scientists basically found is that teams or groups that has good social sensitivity and good conversational turn-taking generally has higher collective intelligence. On the other hand, and to many people's surprise actually, research found that collective intelligence of a group is not strongly correlated to the average or maximum intelligence of group. What this really means is that just because you have a group of highly intelligent people, if they're not able to practice good conversational turn-taking and they're not socially sensitive to each other, they're not going to do very well together in complex challenges. So I'm a university professor. I like to use university examples because it helps my students. So let's imagine we have 4 students, all highly motivated and all very bright. They've come together to form a team to work on a class project. Now, again, these 4 students are all very bright and they each bring different perspectives and skills, and on paper, they should make a great team and do really well. Now, in reality, what happens is that when they start working together, well, they found that 2 of the students who may be very naturally talkative are starting to dominate the conversation. And the other students who are more naturally reserved, well, they stay relatively quiet, right? So when this is happening, this group dynamic is that the group is not practicing good conversational turn-taking. Now, it gets worse because the dominant students, too busy talking and in conversation, didn't practice social sensitivity. They don't have the social sensitivity skill to recognize that by dominating the conversation, they are making the other students feel, well, excluded, for a lack of better words, right? So the result is the 2 quiet students didn't contribute because they felt excluded and they couldn't get a word in edgewise. On the other hand, the 2 talkative students, because they weren't socially sensitive enough to recognize what's happening, they actually felt they were doing all the work and the other students are slacking off. So they got upset. And of course, when you're upset, you're not thinking the best, right? We know this because that's how human beings are. The result is that even though all 4 students are bright, they were not able to make use of their brightness, and the overall quality of the project suffered as a result. Now, this is obviously, it's a made-up example, but it's an example that I've seen many, many times in these situations as a professor. Now, in my experience, having taught hundreds of student teams, most students actually do not come to university with good collective intelligence skills. What I mean is that these students, well, they were never guided to develop these skills intentionally and explicitly. It doesn't make them bad students, they just never had the practice. Fortunately, both social sensitivity and conversational turn-taking, they're learnable skills. All you have to do is developing them with a bit of intentionality and with, well, practice. There's just no better way. So I want to share two practices that I think are easy and great for you to develop your collective intelligence skills, specifically social sensitivity and conversational turn taking, right? So social sensitivity is typically measured using the reading the mind in the eyes test. And I'm going to put a link with this video so you can actually try it yourself, so you can find out how socially sensitive you are. And it's a skill that's developed over time by really you just watching other people and try to figure out what they're thinking and feeling. And the more you practice this, the better you get at it. A great way to develop this when you're doing great group activity is actually just have a simple reflection afterward, because you don't want to actually do this during group activity. You want to pay attention and be present, right? But after participating in a group activity, just think about these two questions, right? What was something that you noticed about somebody else? What it could be their facial expression, it could be a change in their tone, it could be a behavior, either physical or something else, right? Now, what does this thing that you notice mean about what they are thinking or how they might be feeling? You're not going to get it right all the time, and that's not the point, right? The point is to practice. The more you practice paying attention, the better you're just going to get at being socially sensitive, no matter where you start. The second thing is second practice about conversational turn-taking. Conversational turn-taking is something, well, it's a bit different depending on who you are. So if you're naturally talkative like me, the key thing here is actually pay attention, notice when you start to dominate the conversation and catch yourself. So you start with noticing, and then once you notice you're dominating the conversation, you actively practice pulling yourself back and just stop yourself from speaking, right? I call this self-policing. It's better to police ourselves instead of annoying other people and get them to police us, right? So and the other thing is that if you notice that there is an imbalance in the conversation, it's good to invite other members who may not be speaking up as much, who may not be participating in the conversation, to join the conversation. And often the act of inviting after you notice is enough to actually create a balance in your conversational turn-taking. Now, if you're one of the more naturally reserved students, unfortunately, the way is to practice, right? Practice participating just a little bit more. It can be really uncomfortable, I understand this, and it could be daunting and scary. But I promise you, the more you practice, the easier it gets, right? And of course, anyone, wherever this spectrum is, whenever you notice there's imbalance, always invite the students. Just call out that, hey, I noticed that this other student hasn't spoken a lot. Let's hear what they have to say, right? Making that space is going to help people open up. Now, in summary, collective intelligence refers to a group or a team's ability to work together effectively